Hello, welcome to today's talk and welcome to episode 4 in my series called Birth of a Conspiracy Theorist. I'm taking on one conspiracy at a time, and today I'm taking on the conspiracy that's probably, it was the first one I got excited about, or the first one that got under my skin, let's say. JFK assassination conspiracy, and I'm trying to recall what was it? Was it the movie JFK around 1991 that got me going? And then I read Jim Garrison's book, and that got me interested. Or if I read that first and then I saw the movie, I think I saw the movie first, but. Anyways, as long as I can remember in my adult life, I've doubted the official narrative. But along the way, I have made some heroes of mine, and I don't necessarily agree with them politically, but just heroes that I believe every word they write or say. Jim Morrison, one of them. L. Fletcher Prouty, of former Pentagon employee. The Mr. X in the what was his name that made the movie? Claimed that Mr. X was kind of a compilation of several characters, but anyways, he was the inspiration for the Mr. X, L. Fletcher Prouty at the Pentagon, and Jim Garrison, also author Jim Mars, who's probably one of the most prolific authors on this subject. I don't know, but he wrote that thick book about JFK conspiracy. I can't remember the title of it was. And then also Mark Lane, who wrote some great books about this. And also he was a great episode of Firing Line with William F. Buckley, when he gets into a good debate and just tears William F. Buckley apart. And I remember my parents loving William F. Buckley, the great conservative. But on this, oh wow, it is bizarre how Mark Lane just tears him apart. And it is good to watch, fun to watch. So, A Rush to Judgment, I think it was Mark Lane's book. But anyways, so that's some of my heroes that have come out of this, but the magic bullet was probably the biggest piece of evidence that got me going down this path, and then reading almost everything that Jim Garrison has written on it, and just my respect for Jim Garrison. And again, we don't agree politically necessarily, but oh man, I just get a sense of honesty and forthrightness and a true patriot of these people that I just mentioned. That Jim Garrison is one. He's always come across to me as a straight shooter, and he's the only person in history that has taken this case to trial, and as was portrayed in the movie, many of his key witnesses were killed off. And this is the question that I like to pose to any of those who hang on to that lone nut theory of Oswald acted alone. If that Oswald acted alone after he was killed, went around killing all these key witnesses of Jim Garrison, It's absolutely unbelievable. Just so much testimony. And then who was it that LBJ's testimony about? He put together the Warren Commission, right? And he gave them his number one job for them, or his commission to them was not to get to the truth, but to allay the fears of the American people that their country is safe and it's not going they're not under attack from some foreign power or whatever. It wasn't get to the bottom of this, allay the fears of the people, and which probably was included in that, try to clean this mess up and place the blame at Oswald's feet at any cost. It's just question after question. Just suspicious evidence suppression and cover up, and at every turn, literally. And I'll try to talk about some things that people don't hear about all the time that might make this worthwhile, for you listening at home. We're 6 minutes into it. It's like with the Apollo. You just take any one thing and dive deep into it, and you have more questions than you have answers. Oswald was made out to be this rabid communist that defected to Russia. Okay. And as it turns out, many young people were sent to Russia in those days from the CIA as casual observers to kind of observe things on the ground in the USSR. But I don't know of anybody that has defected quote unquote, and then when he was ready to come home, they gave him back his passport, they paid for his airfare or loaned him the money for him and brought him and his wife and child back to the United States. And then once back in Texas, he's befriended by a bunch of anti-Russian people who are anti-communist. It's just the narrative just falls apart. Every narrative falls apart on us. Anyways, years later, fairly recently, I think, Norman Mailer, a liberal kind of thinker, wrote a book. He went back to Russia and contacted everybody that he could that was still alive that had any contact with Russia, with Oswald in Russia. And you know what? There is no sign that he was pro-Russia. He made several negative comments against Russia while he was there. He maybe said a few positive things. Maybe he said many positive things about the United States. He even said positive things about JFK. Had expressed his admiration of him, right? And yet, we're to believe that this is a rabid communist that hates the United States, that is, I don't know. Anyways, Norman Mailer wrote this book, and, Oswald rarely talked about politics. Okay? And yet, Norman Mailer then comes to the conclusion that somehow he did it, right? but the narrative doesn't fit. Just all indications are that Oswald was either worked directly for the CIA or was a informant for the CIA after JFK was killed, and he was allowed to make one phone call from prison, right? And the woman at the operator at the prison, I think she got the number that he called. And who did he call? Some guy in, I think it was in New Jersey, who it was figured out later that this guy was a CIA guy. Oswald was calling his CIA contact, probably his handler. And the operator at the prison was told to not connect the call, right? Don't let him make this call. But she remembered years later, or kept the handwritten note or something like that. Or remembered the name that he was calling, or kept the note or something like that. And it's just, the narrative falls apart all the time, at every turn. There's no doubt that Oswald was either involved in a sense that he was, what's the word, a low-level gopher, unbeknownst to him, or he thought that he was going to be a mole in this operation and divulge this big plot, because he had sent a letter or a note to a guy at the FBI. I can't remember all the names. It's been so many years. I'm not very fluent with all the names anymore, but with this FBI contact to say that the president there was a plot to assassinate the president, but the guy tore up the note or something like that. Every turn. The autopsy the notes were burned by the doctor. There's just so much that doesn't add up. And how many minutes we got here? We got 13 minutes. And so I'm not going to shed any new light here on but throughout these decades that I've been I doubted the official narrative. Even just so many things. The fact that they won't release even Trump, who said he was going to release all the JFK information, succumbed to the pressure, I guess, from the CIA or whatever, the powers that be, that he was not to release the information. That's why I'm hopeful that, it'd be hard for me to vote for a Democrat, but if there's ever a Democrat that I would vote for, it would be RFK Jr. And I think he released the documents on his uncle's assassination, and also on his dad's assassination. So there's so much shenanigans out there, and it is. We're getting 40 minutes. I'll try to wrap it up here soon. But yeah, in my adult life, I don't remember a time when I believed the official narrative. But It's almost with everything. Like this book that I talked about in my last video, that was required reading for naval intelligence. People went to Langley when they were trained to the CIA. This book called By Way of Deception by Victor Ostrovsky, who was a Canadian-born Jew who went over to Israel and joined the Mossad, which is the gold standard of intelligence gathering in the world. And I was told by my friend to read this book, and it is a page turner, and you cannot put it down. But anyways, a couple takeaways from the book were that I'll repeat this from last time, but was that every time there's a politically charged event going on in the world, an operation, there is always a cover story, and what you hear in the news is rarely, if ever, the truth, right? And that's why, that's why conspiracy theorists are born, because we have a deceitful government, we have a deceitful press, we have a deceitful, it's just, so of course you're going to look at things and go, things that make you go, and this JFK is full of them. And just the other day I'll wrap up with this, it'll be the last thing. Interesting thing, at the boarding house that JFK was staying at, and I've walked there, and I think I took the bus to there, and then I did that walk from the boarding house to the theater and to where J.D. Tippett was shot and all this, and unless he was running or had a ride, there's no way he could make it there in that short amount of time. And but anyways, what was I going to say? Oh, the boarding house, the mother, no, she was a child when Oswald lived there. Her grandmother ran the boarding house, but she testifies that he was the nicest guy, Oswald, and he was the only boarder out of about 18 boarders in that place that would ever play with the grandkids, and he would constantly be playing with the grandkids out in the yard with them. So it shows he had a tender side, and there's just so many things. Nothing supports this narrative, right? And anyways, I'll leave it at that. And that is yet another conspiracy that, what's a conspiracy? Almost every crime is a conspiracy, meaning there's more than one person in on it, right? That's all it means, more than one person in on the jig. But this term is used to try to marginalize and try to shut people up and try to discredit them, and it's almost comical how people use this word conspiracy theorist to belittle people. Shut them up. Shut up! You're a conspiracy theorist, right? Whether it be January 6th or whatever, we can see the videos, right? It's all, Anyways, well, thank you for listening. I hope that was enjoyable, and we'll talk to you soon.